All right, get ready to dive deep, fellow investors, because today we're tackling Airbnb,
Airbnb,
a company that's become a household name.
and one that's shaken up the entire travel industry.
Forget stuffy hotels and overpriced resorts.
We're talking unique stays, hidden fees, and enough drama to make your head spin.
So strap in as we explore how three guys with an air mattress
And a dream.
built a multi-billion-dollar empire.
It's a wild ride.
But first, a quick intro for our beginner investors.
Airbnb, at its core, is a two-sided marketplace,
Think of it like a digital matchmaker,
connecting travelers seeking unique and often affordable stays.
with hosts looking to turn their spare space into cash.
It's a classic example of the sharing economy in action.
But let's rewind back to the very beginning.
2008, San Francisco.
Three friends, an air mattress, and a big design conference come into town.
Hotel rooms, sky high.
So they had this crazy idea.
Rent out their living room floor to conference attendees.
Simple, right?
Little did they know they were about to disrupt an entire industry.
Their timing was perfect
They tapped into that emerging sharing economy trend.
and capitalized on travelers yearning for something different.
Something more authentic, more personal than a cookie-cutter hotel room.
And boy, did it take off.
Fast forward to today,
Over 6 million active listings worldwide.
a presence in over 220 countries.
Over 1 billion guest arrivals.
That's not just disruption, that's a full-blown travel revolution.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
But let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
The money.
How does Airbnb actually make money?
They don't own any properties.
It's all about those fees. Airbnb acts as the middleman,
Right.
taking a cut from each transaction.
Okay, so break it down for us.
Hosts pay a 3% fee for accommodations
Right.
and a 20% fee for experiences.
Experiences.
Think cooking classes, guided tours, that kind of thing.
Makes sense.
And of course, guests pay a fee too,
How much?
around 14% on average.
So for every $100 booking, Airbnb gets.
A cool $17.
Not bad for playing matchmaker.
Not bad at all.
But here's a fun fact.
Shoot.
Most Airbnb listings
Yeah.
come from individuals, not big corporations. That's what gives them that unique personal
the
touch.
travelers love.
But this reliance on individual hosts
Oh.
opens up a whole can of worms.
Especially when it comes to regulations.
Oh yeah, cities around the world
They've been scrambling.
to control this whole short-term rental thing
It's a constant battle.
between Airbnb and local governments,
Trying to find that balance.
between tourism and protecting communities.
It's tricky.
Take New York City, for example.
One of the toughest cities to crack.
They introduced super strict regulations, and bam, Airbnb listings plummeted.
It's like 80%.
Ouch.
That's a huge hit. Even for a company like Airbnb,
And those regulatory headaches?
are just the beginning.
Because then you...
The customer complaints.
Yes, the complaints.
Remember those fees we talked about?
Yeah.
Well, they weren't always so transparent.
Reading to,
A lot of unhappy guests.
feeling misled. Plus, there are those horror stories.
You know, about misleading listings.
The ones that look amazing online.
But in reality,
Total gumps.
and let's not forget about the scam.
Oh yeah, the scams.
Fake listings, phantom hosts.
It's enough to make you think twice about booking.
Right.
All these customer satisfaction issues,
They've definitely tarnished Airbnb's reputation.
forcing them to play damage control,
They've been working hard,
to rebuild trust.
then improve transparency.
As you can see, it hasn't been all smooth sailing for Airbnb.
Definitely not,
They've had their fair share of ups and downs,
especially for investors.
who've been on quite the roller coaster ride.
Speaking of roller coasters,
Let's talk about their IPO.
December 2020.
It's a massive event.
Shares more than doubled on the first day.
Talk about a dream debut.
They hit an all-time high.
When?
February 2021.
How high?
$216.84.
Wow.
But then,
The party ended.
the stock started to get volatile.
Influenced by...
The pandemic,
Right, boredom.
regulatory challenges,
Right.
and competition.
The usual suspects.
As of today,
Where's the stock at?
around $135.78.
A significant drop.
A reminder that even disruptors like Airbnb...
Aren't me on a market force.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for you, our beginner investors?
Is Airbnb a stock worth betting on?
That, my friends, is the million-dollar question.
And we'll be tackling that in the next part of our deep dive.
So stay tuned.
Okay, so let's take a closer look at Airbnb's financials.
Yeah, let's see how those numbers are actually looking.
Because remember,
Yeah,
2023,
Yeah.
they actually turned a profit.
They did. It was pretty impressive.
Right. For years, they were all about growth.
Yeah.
Pouring money into expanding their platform.
Right.
But they finally proved they can be profitable
So what were the key ingredients?
in this financial success story.
Yeah, spill the tea.
Well, first of all, revenue growth was through the roof.
Okay, give us some specifics.
In the fourth quarter of 2023 alone,
Yeah.
they saw a 17% increase in revenue.
Compared to...
The same period in 2022.
Right.
We're talking $2.2 billion in revenue.
Wow, that's impressive, especially with all the economic uncertainty going around.
It seems travelers are still loving that Airbnb experience.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about adjusted EBITDA.
Adjusted what?
EBITDA.
Okay, break that down for us.
It stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Right, got it.
It basically measures a company's operating performance.
Okay.
And Airbnb's adjusted EBITDA was looking pretty healthy, too.
How healthy?
It hit $738 million.
In?
The fourth quarter of 2023,
That's...
a 46% increase from the previous year.
So they're bringing in the big bucks and managing their costs well.
Exactly.
Now let's talk bookings.
The heart of any travel platform.
Are people still clicking that reserve button?
Oh, yeah, they are.
How many bookings are we talking?
In the fourth quarter of 2023,
Uh-huh.
it recorded 99 million nights and experiences booked.
99 million.
That's a 12% increase year over year.
So things are still looking up for Airbnb.
And it was their highest fourth quarter booking number ever.
Wow, that's impressive.
Now, what about those hosts?
Are more people joining the party?
The hosting party is definitely still going strong.
What kind of growth are we seeing?
They saw a 19% increase in active listings
Compared to
the third quarter of 2022.
And it's not just concentrated in a few hot spots, right?
Nope, they're seeing double-digit growth across all regions and market types.
So even with those regulations we talked about,
People are still eager to list their properties.
I guess they see the potential.
Of course.
But let's be real, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Right. There are always risks.
Especially for investors.
Exactly. Investing is never a sure thing.
What are some of the potential pitfalls investors should be aware of?
Well, those regulatory battles we talked about.
Yeah, those are still ongoing.
They're not going away anytime soon.
What's the main concern there?
Cities like New York are cracking down hard on short-term rentals.
Right, and that creates uncertainty for Airbnb and its hosts.
Exactly. It's a constantly evolving landscape.
What else?
Well, competition is always lurking.
Of course, they're not the only game in town.
Right. Other online travel giants like Booking Holdings and Expedia,
They have their own vacation rental platform.
and they want a bigger piece of the pie.
So Airbnb can't afford to get complacent.
Definitely not.
They need to keep innovating
Absolutely.
to stay ahead of the game.
Exactly.
Now, what about those customer complaints we discussed?
Oh, those are definitely a factor.
Have those come back to bite them?
Potentially. Reputation is everything in the travel industry.
And Airbnb needs to keep working on those issues.
They need to improve transparency
Crack down on misleading listings.
and ensure guests feel protected.
So it's not enough to attract new users.
Right.
They need to keep existing customers happy
It's about building trust.
and exceeding expectations.
Exactly.
So what strategies is Airbnb using to navigate these challenges?
Well, they're investing heavily in product development.
Okay, like what?
They're rolling out new features and tools.
To make things easier for hosts and guests.
Exactly.
Give us some examples.
Well, they've introduced pricing tools to help hosts optimize their rates.
Okay.
And for guests,
Yeah.
they've added a price transparency feature.
So no more surprises when it comes to the total cost.
Exactly.
Those sound like smart moves to address those concerns about hidden fees.
Definitely.
What else is on their agenda?
Global domination, of course.
Of course.
They're aggressively expanding into new markets.
Adding thousands of new
Who
destinations
broadens their reach.
and helps them diversify their revenue streams.
Exactly.
So they're spreading their wing.
And planting their flag all over the globe.
But where are they headed in the long run?
Well, they're not content with just being the Airbnb we know today.
So what's next?
There are whispers of them venturing into new territory.
Like what?
Think car rentals, experiences, even longer-term stays.
So they want to be more than just a place to sleep.
They're aiming to become the ultimate travel companion.
Wow, that's ambitious.
It is.
But let's face it,
Yeah,
Airbnb stock has been on a bit of a roller coaster lately.
it has.
What should our beginner investors keep in mind when considering Airbnb for their portfolio?
Well, remember, Airbnb is still a relatively young company
Right?
in a dynamic industry.
The travel industry is always changing.
Exactly.
So what advice would you give to those tempted to dip their toes into Airbnb investing?
do your homework.
Don't just jump in
A
head
fifth,
first.
research the company thoroughly.
Look at their financials, their growth prospects, and those potential risks.
It's about making informed decisions.
Not emotional ones.
Exactly.
What are some key metrics beginners should watch?
Revenue growth is always a good indicator.
Are they attracting new guests and generating more bookings?
Keep an eye on those quarterly and annual revenue reports.
So are they bringing in the big bucks?
Exactly.
What else?
Profitability.
Are they making money?
And are they doing it wisely?
What about those active listings?
Absolutely. More active listings mean a bigger and more diverse platform
More choices for travelers.
and more revenue for Airbnb.
What about their global expansion efforts?
Keep an eye on that geographic revenue breakdown
Which markets are driving growth?
and where they might be facing challenges.
And what about those customer satisfaction issues?
Look for signs they're addressing those complaints.
Are they improving transparency and accountability?
Are they making changes to improve the guest experience?
So it's not just about the numbers.
It's about the bigger picture.
But remember, investing always comes with risks.
Don't invest more than you can afford to lose.
And be prepared for volatility.
The market can be unpredictable.
Now, let's zoom out for a moment.
Okay.
Airbnb hasn't just disrupted the travel industry.
Right.
It's also had a ripple effect on local communities.
And traditional hotels.
It's been a fascinating evolution.
Airbnb's rise has forced the entire hospitality industry to rethink its approach.
What do you mean?
Traditional hotels have had to adapt. They're offering more flexible options,
Oh, okay.
embracing technology,
Right.
and even incorporating elements of the sharing economy.
It's like a wake-up call for those old-school hotels.
Adapt or get left behind.
What about Airbnb's impact on local communities?
It's a complex issue.
They've faced criticism for rising housing costs.
And disrupting neighborhoods.
So how are they addressing those concerns?
They're working with cities to establish clearer regulations.
Yeah.
They're addressing concerns about housing affordability
Right.
and finding ways to minimize negative impact.
So it's a balancing act.
It is.
What are your thoughts on Airbnb's long-term prospects?
I think they have all the ingredients for continued success.
A strong brand, a loyal customer base, a vast network of hosts,
And a drive to innovate.
but they can't afford to rest on their laurels.
Definitely not.
They need to navigate those regulatory hurdles, address those customer satisfaction concerns.
And stay ahead of the curve.
It's a high-stakes game.
It is.
Now let's delve into another aspect of Airbnb's story, the rise of co-hosting.
Co-hosting has become a popular way for property owners to outsource the management of their listings.
So they can basically hand over the reins to someone else.
Exactly.
Why is co-hosting so popular?
It allows property owners to tap into the expertise of seasoned hosts,
Who can handle all those details?
creating listings, setting prices, communicating with guests, coordinating cleaning.
So it's perfect for busy owners who don't have the time or expertise.
Exactly.
But what about the financial side of things?
Co-hosts typically charge a commission.
How much?
It can range from 10% to 50% of the rental income.
Depending on the services provided.
Exactly.
So property owners need to shop around and negotiate a fair deal.
Absolutely.
What are some key factors to consider when choosing a co-host?
Experience is crucial.
You want someone who knows the ropes?
Someone with a proven track record.
And what else?
Communication is key.
You want a co-host who is responsive and keeps you informed.
And they should have excellent guest communication skills.
They're the face of your Airbnb listing.
Exactly.
What about cleaning and maintenance?
Cleanliness is non-negotiable for Airbnb guests.
Absolutely.
You want a co-host who is meticulous about keeping your property spotless.
And what about those regulations?
Many co-hosts offer assistance with navigating those.
So they can help you stay on the right side of the law.
Exactly.
But let's talk about the co-hosting landscape itself.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a bumpy ride for some companies.
What's been happening?
Some of the bigger players in the co-hosting market have faced challenges.
Like what?
Losing clients, struggling to maintain profitability.
So it's not all easy money in the co-hosting world.
Definitely not.
What factors have contributed to these challenges?
Well, the short-term rental market is getting more competitive.
As regulations tighten and the number of listings grows.
Co-hosts need to be more sophisticated in their approach.
What else?
The rise of technology is also playing a role.
Also.
New software and platforms are automating many tasks.
So co-hosting companies need to offer something special.
They need to provide a level of service and expertise that technology can't replicate.
What advice would you give to someone considering starting a co-hosting business?
Focus on building a stellar reputation.
Provide exceptional service, communicate effectively, and stay ahead of the curve.
It's a tough business
But it can be rewarding.
if you do it right.
What about those who are considering hiring a co-host?
Vet them carefully.
Check reviews, ask for references.
And make sure they understand the local market and regulations.
Now, let's think about the bigger picture.
Okay.
What are the implications of co-hosting for the future of travel?
Co-hosting has the potential to democratize access to the short-term rental market.
Making it easier for more people to become hosts,
It could lead to a more diverse and competitive marketplace.
which could benefit travelers.
More choices, lower prices.
But are there any downsides?
Some worry it could lead to a more impersonal travel experience.
As more properties are managed by companies?
We might lose some of that personal touch.
What else?
It's important to consider the impact on local communities
Could it contribute to the commercialization of the market?
and exacerbate concerns about housing affordability.
It's a complex issue.
It is.
Now, let's shift our focus to Airbnb's financial performance in 2023.
Okay.
Their annual report gave us a good look at their financial health.
And the numbers were impressive.
So they're making money, growing, and financially sound.
They are.
Can you give us some key highlights from their annual report?
Sure, their total assets grew by 29% in 2023,
Reaching.
$20.645 billion.
What about their liabilities?
Their total liabilities increased to $12.480 billion,
Okay.
but at a slower pace than their asset growth.
So they're managing their debt responsibly.
Exactly.
What about their equity?
It rose to $8.165 billion,
Huh.
$5.560 billion in 2022.
So their earnings performance is strong.
Definitely.
What about their debt levels?
Their total debt actually decreased slightly in 2023.
So they're not relying too heavily on debt.
Right.
What about cash on hand?
Their cash and cash equivalents increased to $7.882 billion.
That's a nice cushion.
It gives them flexibility for future investments.
They're in a good position.
They are.
But past performance doesn't guarantee future success.
You're right. There are always risks.
What are some key risks investors should be aware of?
Those regulatory challenges are still a big unknown.
Cities are still figuring out how to deal with short-term rentals.
It could impact Airbnb's growth.
What else?
Competition is always a factor.
Airbnb isn't the only player in the game.
They're facing competition from other online travel agencies,
And from traditional hotels.
so they need to stay ahead of the game.
What about those customer satisfaction issues?
They could definitely damage their brand if not addressed.
What about the overall economy?
Airbnb is vulnerable to economic downturns.
Travel spending tends to decline during recessions?
Exactly.
Any other potential risks?
Cybersecurity is a growing concern.
They handle a lot of sensitive data.
A data breach could be costly.
What about risks associated with global expansion?
Expanding into new markets always comes with challenges.
Different cultures, regulations, political landscapes.
It's not always easy.
What about their plans to expand beyond short-term rentals?
That could spread their resources too thin.
So they need to be careful.
They do.
Now let's consider the social impact of Airbnb.
They've been both praised and criticized.
How so?
They've been credited with democratizing travel,
Making it more affordable and accessible.
but they've also been blamed for rising housing costs.
And disrupting neighborhoods.
It's a complex issue.
What steps have they taken to address these concerns?
They're working with cities on regulations.
Okay.
They're promoting responsible hosting,
Right.
and they're helping hosts comply with local laws.
What about the impact on traditional hotels?
They've definitely felt the impact.
Have they adapted?
They've had to.
How so?
They're offering more flexible options
Okay.
and embracing technology.
So it's a case of adapt or die. What about the overall impact on the travel industry?
Airbnb has been a game changer.
For better or worse?
It's brought both positive and negative consequences.
It's a complex and evolving landscape.
It is.
Now let's turn our attention to the future of Airbnb.
Okay.
What trends could shape their destiny?
Well, one trend is the rise of remote work.
People are working from anywhere.
And that's leading to longer-term stays.
So it's blurring the lines between work and leisure travel.
Exactly. Exactly.
So how is Airbnb capitalizing on this shift?
Well, they're definitely not ignoring it. They're rolling out new features.
Tailored to these longer-term stays.
Exactly. Think about it.
Yeah.
They can provide a home away from home.
For digital nomads, remote workers.
Anyone seeking a more flexible travel experience.
So from weekend getaways to months-long adventures.
Airbnb is adapting.
What other trends are you watching?
Sustainability.
Sustainability.
It's a top priority for travelers now.
People want to minimize their environmental impact.
Exactly. They're looking for eco-friendly options.
So how is Airbnb responding to this?
Well, they're encouraging hosts to adopt sustainable practices.
Like what?
energy-efficient appliances, composting, water conservation.
So they're actually walking the walk.
They are. They're also working to reduce their own carbon footprint.
Okay, so they're taking it seriously.
Definitely.
What other trends are shaping the future of travel?
Experiential travel is huge right now.
What's that?
It's about going beyond the typical tourist traps.
Okay.
Travelers want authentic experiences.
Connecting with local cultures, learning new skills.
Exactly.
So how is Airbnb tapping into this?
They've expanded beyond accommodations.
Yeah.
Experiences hosted by locals.
Give us some examples.
Cooking classes, art workshops, guided tours, outdoor adventures.
So they're connecting travelers with locals who can share their passions.
Exactly. It's a great way to create unique and memorable experiences.
What about technology? What role is that playing?
Well, AI and machine learning are transforming the travel industry.
And Airbnb is using these technologies.
To personalize recommendations, optimize pricing.
Make the whole experience more seamless.
Right.
So it's like having a personal travel agent in your pocket.
Exactly.
What else are they doing with technology
Well, they're exploring virtual and augmented reality.
to enhance the travel experience?
Imagine taking a virtual tour of an Airbnb before you book it,
That's cool.
or using augmented reality to explore a destination.
Wow. The future of travel sounds amazing.
It does.
With all these trends in their favor,
Mm.
what's your take on Airbnb's long-term growth potential?
I think they have a really strong foundation.
Strong brand, loyal customers, vast network of hosts.
And they're constantly innovating.
But there will be challenges, right?
Of course, the travel industry is always evolving.
So they need to stay agile and adaptable.
Exactly.
Well, they've come a long way from that air mattress in San Francisco.
They have.
It's been quite the journey.
And it's not over yet.
So what are your final thoughts on Airbnb?
I think they're a company to watch.
They've disrupted the industry, challenged conventions, created a global community.
It's an incredible story.
It really is.
And I can't wait to see what the future holds for them.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dives into Airbnb.
We've covered a lot of ground.
From their humble beginnings to their future prospects.
We hope you found it insightful and engaging.
Now we want to hear from you, our listeners.
What are your key takeaways?
What aspects of Airbnb's story resonated with you?
And what are your predictions for their future?
Share your thoughts on social media.
We love hearing from you.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
We'll be back next week with another exciting episode.
Until then, happy investing.
And happy travels!